And now a quick word from our sponsors here at Viral Hip Hop News. Man here from Viral Hip Hop News, letting my people know to go grab this bottle of miracle food right now. ShopADoctor.org put together some of the best ingredients on God's green earth to help your immune system, give you a cleanse and reboot that your body deserves. Don't wait for your miracle. Grab it in Miracle Food right now. Let's go.
Children. And he came out and pretty much said, fuck your children. It's a little bit more to the conversation. You know, he kind of tried to backtrack, you know, but he did, you know, put that statement out there. So what's your thoughts on that, Lil Nas X, you know, saying, look, I'm not, you know, it's up to you to monitor what your children watch. That's what he pretty much said.
I got to go watch that, but it sounds like he said it all. I'm gonna try to find a clip. Like they have that old saying from Maya Angelou that says, when people show you who they are, you got to believe them.
Right.
So Lil Nas X is letting you know right there that he personally doesn't give a shit about your kids. He'll use your kids. Who knows? Maybe he'd even fuck your kids if he could. I don't know. But what I will say is that Lil Nas X is he's a puppet, right? If he wasn't there, the music industry would find somebody else. Lil Nas X is a manifestation. He's a representation of something much bigger. The bigger thing that he's representing is the fact that if you look at the history of Hollywood and the music industry, it's always been a pretty sick, debaucherous place. Mm-hmm. You know, when you talk about pedophilia, when you talk about the drugs, when you talk about just the lifestyle that most people can't identify with, Hollywood's always been about that shit. You know, and you go out to LA, you spend enough time out there, you start to run into things where you're like, I don't want to be a part of any of this, right? So Nas is not a guy who independently made himself famous or independently built his brand. Nas is just a guy who gets on stage and raps because some white man in the background told him what to do, right? And so as much as we might want to just get mad at him and assume he has some equity in what he's saying to the world, you got to realize that there's a machine behind him. And without that machine, there is no Lil Nas X. So I don't think we should just look at him. We should look at the machine. Don't look at the puppet. You pay attention to the puppet master. So Lil Nas X is part of a continuous process. It's an agenda where they tend to use Black people to represent ideas that are questionable and problematic, particularly when you talk about presenting them to children. If you watch movies, a lot of times the gay person will be Black, right? The man in the dress I haven't to this day, I've seen Lil Nas X wear a dress to the, that stupid thing that bullshit event. The Met Gala? Yeah, I've seen Lil Nas X wear a dress. I've seen Billy Porter wear a dress. Yep. Which white men were wearing dresses? I can't remember. I don't remember seeing any white men wearing dresses. I saw those two, right? Maybe there were. Maybe I missed them. But the point is to say that Black people are a vehicle and a vessel for certain ideas that they want to push for two reasons. One, because, you know, just kind of going back since slavery, they kind of felt this need to kind of get Black people on board with whatever they're doing. But then also there's something magical about Black people where when we buy into something and we make something cool, it kind of makes it cool for everybody, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other piece of that is because Black people historically don't know who we are, because we're not taught who we are. We go to, you know, a white man's school who teaches us how great white people are, and we just our goal is to just be down with them and fit in with them, right? So because we don't know who we are, we're easily influenced. So they're pretty much using all that in their advantage to push forward the ideas that they value. And I think that with Lil Nas X, one of the things that you have to be careful about is that he's been trained to use LGBT rights as cover for his behavior. Same thing, Lizzo uses, you know, if you call her out for promoting obesity, you know, or promoting buffoonery and minstrel shows, she'll say, "Oh, you're a sexist," or "Oh, you're fat shaming," or "Oh, you're slut shaming." All these are terms. Most of these terms invented left in order to counterattack or to provide cover for anything that they want to do. So as long as I can say anybody who disagrees with me is homophobic, I can go out and do any fucked up, debaucherous shit that I want to do. So I encourage people to throw political correctness out the window. No, we ain't gonna talk about homophobia. We're talking about you, and we're talking about the fact that you are promoting stuff to children that children do not need to see. Lizzo, you shouldn't be on TikTok sucking a man's dick or whatever she was pretending to do. That I do not want my 10-year-old to see that. Lil Nas X, you shouldn't be spreading your asshole open in a goddamn prison, acting like prison is Disneyland. That is about the most disrespectful stuff you could ever do to black people in a million years. You will never see Jewish men twerking in a concentration camp. Prisons are the concentration camp for black people. So when Lil Nas X does that, his actions are every bit as harmful as if they were done by the KKK. And only smart people can see it. The dumbasses can't see it because they're getting caught up in what's hip and what's cool. They're getting caught up in being afraid of being homophobic. They're getting caught up in believing that black pain doesn't matter. So these ideas, these very racist ideas, are things that were planted in you. But there are some people who are woke enough to say, this is some bullshit. You know, this has nothing to do with you being gay. This is about you being harmful to the people that you're supposed to serve. And I don't think that should be acceptable. So stop worrying about what they think about your reaction. Just react and let them know this is not acceptable. And it's not just Lil Nas X. It's the whole music industry machine. That's what you need to focus on.
Yes, sir.
And this is why it's important to have these types of conversations, because a conversation, you can have this on any various platform, and then you be demonized as homophobic because you disagree with behavior, not who somebody sleeps with, but behavior that is detrimental to people. And you're put under this platform of being this completely different person. And every major media platform on social media, they plant the same narrative. So-and-so made a homophobic remark about this and you're like, wait a minute, damn, now I'm this. It's crazy. So appreciate
that's why independent black-owned media like yours is so important. You know, you need to have a narrative that will counter their narrative, right? So when they come out with their lies, you come out with your truth. Period. It's war. Nothing's fair in war, right? And so their label, their validation or lack thereof of you, in my view, should mean nothing. You should free yourself from any of that. And that is incredibly liberating, because I can tell you when I said a couple things about Lizzo and just kind of how unhealthy some of that was. The whole avalanche of white media came down, and they all had the same narrative. That's how the propaganda works. They all kind of say the same thing, and they believe that if they keep saying it, then it must be true. It didn't bother me at all because I was ready for it, right? And I think that anybody, especially empowered black people like yourselves, that they have the ability to manifest the reality that you want to see because your platform is growing, it's getting stronger. I support it 100%. You got to free yourself from needing the validation of the people who, to some extent, have become your sworn enemies. There are people who are sworn enemies of the idea of masculine black male leadership. They just reject it from the jump. And unless you plan on showing up in a high heels and a mini skirt, then you better be ready to fight. Period. So that's my 2 cents.
Let me cover this part. Let me just be the devil's advocate for the people that are going to say this. What about his statement when he says it's the parents' responsibility to monitor? Like, I'm doing this for adults. It's the parents' responsibility. What was your rebuttal to that?
I think that's absolute bullshit, because my wife and I are very responsible parents, but we can't control what our children see when they go to school. When they walk outside their house or they get on the internet, we can't stop them from hearing about certain things from their friends or seeing certain things that come on TV. You can try, but it's very, very hard to do. And there's a reason why the government does not allow certain messages to be marketed on television. They don't allow you to promote tobacco products. They only allow you to promote even things like liquor in a certain context, in a certain way. There's certain restrictions on what can be put in a TV show. So the only time those restrictions go away is when you're talking about things that affect black people, because America really doesn't care about the black community. So they will let them say things in a song about black people that they would never let them say about gay people. You saw what happened with DaBaby, right? DaBaby, he can say anything in the world about black people, But the minute he said one little thing, and he didn't even say anything particular about gay people. He just said, don't, if you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot, right? So he could have been talking about anybody, right? He wasn't talking about particularly gay people. I mean, women suck dick in the parking lot, right? But it was interpreted as an anti-gay statement. Mm-hmm. And you saw that they literally broke him down and took him out back and beat his ass and chopped his balls off in public to make a point. That's buck breaking. That goes back to slavery, man. That's exactly what they used to do during slavery. You find the biggest, strongest slave, and you break him down in front of everybody to teach the other slaves a lesson. So that's what was going on with the baby.
Hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip bars is back. Hip hop, Sam and oh God, what's up with you? I done watched them niggas do interview after interview. They not culture vultures, the culture something they been into. So if you never gave them a view, I recommend you do. Cause when they question guests, they message is not subliminal. It don't matter if you a rookie.